Hi-hats. Today we're talking about hi-hats. So we're going to talk about how to set up your hi-hat, how to adjust it, and I've got some cool tips for you, some cool stuff you can play, and a cool little anecdote about how to get your hi-hat sound just super cool. Okay. So here's our hi-hat, the top hi-hat on its clutch. The bottom hi-hat just goes loose on there. And there's a tilter on the stand to adjust the angle of that, you will find. Usually it's got a screw. Now this, people are always confused about this. They're forever using these lock nuts here on the wrong side. Okay, you've got two nuts above and one below. So the large one here, pop your felt on, and you should have one large nut to go underneath, which you're going to do up, completely do it up. Now these two are for adjusting how tightly held the hi-hat is. So let's put it on the stand. So what you do is you use the bottom one to adjust how tightly held the hi-hat is between the felts, and then the top one holds it in place. Now I suggest that you go for quite a loose setup anyway, because then you get a nice sizzly sound. So if I loosen that off, you can see that's got quite a bit of movement in it. Not too much, actually. And that will give you a nice jazzy, sizzly sound. Okay. Right, so there's other things you can adjust on a hi-hat stand. So you adjust that, see if you can get that nice and loose. The tilt is going to affect the way it closes. Now down here on this Mapex hi-hat stand, there's a screw that you turn, and that's going to adjust the tension of the pedal, how hard it is to push down the pedal. So you might want that fairly hard to push down or fairly light. Now I'm going to say that's light is better as a rule. I think it's easier to get a nice sizzly sound. Okay, so another hi-hat tip. When you're setting up your hi-hat, use the feet to touch the ground, and have this part here, or the base, just a fraction off the ground, or just about touching the ground, but not taking the weight of the stand. If that takes the weight of the stand, every time you stamp on the hi-hat goes boing and it jumps away. But if you put the legs so that the hi-hat, the base is off the ground, and the legs are taking the weight, you'll see that the legs take the strain as you push. And you see that's moving a bit? Okay, that's flexing. And that will stop your hi-hat from jumping away. So put the legs down, take this very slightly off the ground. Okay, so there's your tension for how hard it is to push the pedal down. And then you've got these here to adjust how much that moves. So that's how you operate your hi-hat. So now for some fun hi-hat tips. This is a really cool move, the old Max Roach thing. So to do this, we're going to set up a sort of a swing rhythm. And you're going to play these notes on the hi-hat on the skip beats. And make a triplet. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And so that you don't graze your fingers, you hold the stick here like that, rather than closing it in your normal grip. So you extend your fingers. And there's all sorts of cool tricks you see Buddy do. Moving this about, looks fantastic. Okay, another thing you can do on the hi-hat is change the sound by how much tension you push with your foot. And where you play. when you're playing your jazz time, try not to do this. It's more just about getting a nice sizzle going, learning to get a nice sizzle. And then just controlling that. And you used to see guys, traditionally they would use their hands just to get the nuance. Okay, so one more thing. Just a little anecdote of mine. I was playing at this club and I always found that the hi-hats were really thick and heavy, like these ones that I use now, these Byzance ones. And the gap was really far. And lots of people set their hi-hats up with a very small gap because they think it's easier to go and get a sizzly sound if the gap's small. Okay? Actually, that means you're going to play very loud. Okay? What I discovered was that, well, the owner of the club kept saying to me, you know, James, I'd give you a job here if you change the way you play your hi-hat, because every time you play the hi-hat like that, you're too loud. And I was like, well, how can I make that quieter? And he said, well, watch Tony Williams. His foot is always bobbing up and down. So the trick is, I went away, watched some videos of Tony on YouTube and whatnot, and you can see the really cool jazz guys, when they're playing time, their foot is doing this, just bobbing. So what they do is you do a little bob up and down and then a big one. So actually, so even though the hi-hats are very far apart, squash it right down, leave your heel up, and you do this little dance here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's actually much quieter, much more control there, than if you have your heel down and you try and play like this. See how loud that is? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Really overpowers the band, whereas here, a little club, with brushes or something. Just funky, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can splash it. Okay, so that'll do for this session, and